It is 7:33 now, and for many in life, there's an unspoken expectation they'll outlive their parents, that they'll have the health and wellness to take care of the people who took care of them in old age.
But a doctor at Oregon Health and Science University discovered a shocking truth that has inspired a new National Awareness Day and a new documentary. Check it out.
People are living shorter lives than their parents.
Think about that for a second. It's true. Dr. Thornburg has done the research. He has established the science. But here's the good news. He knows how to solve this. So why does he lie awake at 3 a.m.?
Well, joining us on the couch this morning, we have the producer of The 100-Year Effect, William Stewart, and Dr. Kent Thornburg. Good morning to you both.
Nice to be here.
Yeah,
Thank
nice
you for
to have
being
you here.
here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is an interesting topic to really dig into. We do kind of always assume that with modern medicine, we're going to be around forever, but that is not the case. And so your work has actually inspired National Future Generations Day happening tomorrow. Tell us about that.
Yes, I think that my colleague here should tell you about how that started.
All right, take it away.
Well, I'm from Hollywood. I'm a storyteller, a movie producer, and I got into this because a few years ago my life was saved by a drug developed up here at OHSU by Dr. Drucker. And I wanted to learn more about OHSU, and at one point they approached me and said, we have another doctor that's been doing some incredible research and has some findings that should be interesting and important to you. And when we met, and Kent told me this story, I said, well, the world should know about this. We should be telling the world, let's make a movie. Let's make a Hollywood movie. And that's what we started out to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Wow.
And Dr. Thornburg, I mean, I would just dive into this topic a little bit because that's a statistic that I wouldn't have expected to hear, that people are not outliving their parents. What is the genesis of this?
Their life expectancy of the current babies being born now is lower than it was before 2016. And that change has occurred because there's an accumulation of chronic disease in our population, and people are getting sicker and dying sooner now than they have in the past.
And I think the first question that comes to a lot of people's minds then is why? What's causing that? And that's what your work is really trying to dig into.
Yes. Well, what we've discovered, and the most exciting piece of this, is that the way we grow before we're born determines, and in our early life, those factors put us on a trajectory for having disease or being healthy.
Wow.
And so now we know that there are stressors that occur in our early life, and poor nutrition is the primary one. And those stressors change the way our genes work and put us on a trajectory for having disease.
Interesting. So what is the message that you were hoping to really drive home with your documentary?
Yeah, well, when I got into it early on and started doing the research and learning about this and what other scientists have done, I realized that even though their work has been amazing up at OHSU and Dr. Thornburg's, is the message wasn't getting out. So how do you get this message out? My background is storytelling, and this is a fabulous story.
Yeah.
So we started putting the pieces together to see how this could form a film, a feature film, which is what you'll see in the documentary, and the documentary itself.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that's a challenging message to get across, because I feel like, you know, we all know on some level that we're supposed to eat well and work out, and yet here we are, always with something that we'd like to do a little better. How do you hope to kind of drive that point home for people?
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. When I started talking to people in Hollywood about epigenetics, which is the science itself, and generational health, there's a little blank stare on their faces. But when I started to tell them about it, and everyone gets personally involved in this, everyone has children and wants the future to be better, it started to evolve into a story, which we're telling.
One thing I have to tell you, though, is that scientists are not trained to spread their message.
Sure, yeah.
So we work in the lab, we work with other scientists around the globe, actually, but we are not trained to take a message and allow people in the public to understand what's actually going on with disease in this country right now. It's very serious.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you two have collaborated on a project like this. You need, I mean, you're the brains behind the mission in this science, and it is important to have the conversations, to raise the awareness. It is critical that that's done. How can people watch this documentary?
Well, let me go back one second and say what we were talking about is we realized halfway through the making of the documentary that our audience was not really ourselves, but our audience was future generations. And that's when we came about the idea that, well, how do we plant our flag somewhere? And we went about investigating how we can find a day and develop a day where everyone stops for a second, like Earth Day or other days we celebrate. But it's a forward-looking day, you know, not like President's Day or Arbor Day or all these back days.
It's a day of action.
A day of action,
Right.
a day of thought, and a day for the kids.
Yeah.
So interesting.
You know, when families can get together and talk about what's happening.
So this day is important, and we have to ask the question, how can we design our future and the future of our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, because the trajectory we're on now is not a good one for those next generations.
Well, so how would you suggest that someone celebrate National Future Generations Day?
Well,
Good question.
Yeah, we want your ideas about that.
Okay.
And people in the public.
Yeah.
I always joke and say, go out, get all your friends together, take them out to dinner, and give a speech about how important the next generation is, and let's do something about it.
I was thinking you could call up the previous generation and say, hey, what's in our family tree that we haven't talked about? Because I'm always
Great
so
idea.
surprised by how many people don't have conversations about their medical knowledge and family history and health and all of that. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. If you've got some ideas, now's a great time to throw them around.
Send them in. All right. I do want to just make sure. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, people don't realize that your health is passed on from one generation to the next, not just because of the genes, but the way your genes are modified by poor diet and a lot of stress in your life. That changes the way your genes are, and people who are pregnant are then passing that on to their generation and the next.
Man, it is some real food for thought. Well, we appreciate you both being here
I'll
to...
say tomorrow, you asked how to celebrate it. Tomorrow, my grandchildren are up here in Portland. Tomorrow I'm going to spend the day with them.
That's great.
Oh, that's great.
That's wonderful.
It's very personal for me.
Future generations.
Future generations.
A lot to chew on and think about the future. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
It's a great discussion. And if
Wonderful
you want to
topic.
learn more, you can check out National Future Generations Day and the trailer for the 100-Year Effect, the documentary in production now. That is all on KOIN.com.